And now, a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Stolen credentials are an open door to your corporate assets. SpyCloud is the world leader in recapturing breach data and making it actionable to prevent cyber attacks. SpyCloud solutions protect your employee's identity and prevent criminals from using employee credentials to commit account takeover, data breaches, BEC, and ransomware attacks. Visit spycloud.com/cyberwire to check your breach exposure now and see how global businesses are using SpyCloud to negate the value of their employees' stolen data. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire. And we thank SpyCloud for sponsoring our show. There's no spectacular flurry of Labor Day ransomware, but Ragnar Locker threatens its victims. Berlin complains to Moscow about GhostWriter. Another Pegasus customer is disclosed. The Taliban is searching for data on potential domestic opponents. France visas are hacked. Modified apps are in circulation. Joe Carrigan unpacks a COVID-based phishing scam. Carole Theriault weighs in on the ransomware pay or do not pay discussion. ProtonMail answers a warrant. Apple delays CSAM screening. And an alleged TrickBot coder is arrested. From the CyberWire studios at Data Tribe, I'm Dave Bittner with your CyberWire summary for Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. U.S. authorities warned that ransomware attacks could be expected to spike over the just concluded Labor Day holiday. While cyber criminals have remained active, there seem to have been no spectacular new capers over a weekend largely devoid of unusual ransomware drama. Don't get us wrong, that's not a bad thing at all. But of course, there have been some attacks that had an effect, and at least one high-profile incident has caused some disruption. Howard University in Washington, D.C. has canceled classes for today after detecting what appears to be a ransomware attack Friday. Bleeping Computer does report one interesting development. The operators of Ragnar Locker ransomware have warned their victims, whom the hoods cynically refer to as clients, that they'll promptly dump stolen data should they get a whiff of the victims going to law enforcement or indeed any third party for help. Quote, "So from this moment, we warn all our clients, if you will hire any recovery company for negotiations, or if you will send requests to the police, FBI, investigators, we will consider this as a hostile intent, and we will initiate a publication of whole compromised data immediately. Don't think, please, that any negotiators will be able to deceive us. We have enough experience and many ways to recognize such a lie. Dear clients, if you want to resolve all issues smoothly, don't ask the police to do this for you. We will find out and punish with all our efforts." End quote. Should you be a victim of Ragnar Locker, or indeed of any other gang, don't be deceived. You're not in any meaningful sense their client. The German Foreign Ministry yesterday lodged a complaint with Russia over ongoing attempts to stage cyber espionage and influence operations against the Bundestag during the run-up to national elections, Deutsche Welle reports. The activity, which is reported to have successfully compromised some federal networks, is part of the long-running and often described GhostWriter campaign against Central and Eastern European targets. Deutsche Welle summarizes the ministry's conclusions and the reactions of Bundestag members, unhappy at what they regard as the government's failure to keep them apprised of the situation.
The German government's communication network has been breached by hackers. The parliament's secret supervisory body has been informed by the chancellery and security services, and they say it's not over.
This is an actual cyber attack on the government's information network, and it's ongoing.
The government has known about this since December. It spent weeks observing the cyber attack to learn more about the hackers' activities. Not even the agency responsible for intelligence services was informed. Delegates are angry about being left out of the loop.
We would all understand if the Chancellor's office said it needs to observe a critical issue a little longer. But the fact that no one said anything at all, on the contrary, means we are once again in a position to learn about such incidents from the media, which I think is absurd.
That's Deutsche Welle. You can listen to the whole thing there. As the sound clip suggests, this isn't a fresh discovery, but the complaint to Russia is new, as is the acknowledgement of the possible extent of the compromise. The information GhostWriter obtained does not, by initial reports, seem to be highly sensitive, but its potential for disinformation and influence operations is regarded as significant. In an unrelated development, Germany's federal police, the BKA, are reported to have been among the customers of NSO Group, quietly purchasing its controversial Pegasus intercept tool. Tagesschau says that authorities will report on the purchase to a watchdog Bundestag committee today. There are no specific allegations of the BKA having abused the tool, but Pegasus has been in such bad odor due to its abuse by repressive regimes that suspicion inevitably accompanies its adoption by any law enforcement agency. Die Zeit reports that the capabilities of Pegasus outrun the kinds of surveillance permissible under German law. When the tool was purchased, German authorities are said to have insisted that only such functions as were compatible with the law would be activated, but Die Zeit says it's unclear not only how, but even if such selective enablement would have been possible. Reuters reports that the Taliban is actively seeking access to the emails of former government officials, and that Google has, temporarily at least, locked down access to such accounts. Google didn't directly confirm their move to deny the Taliban access to the accounts, saying only it was monitoring events and was taking temporary actions to secure relevant accounts. The concern over email accounts and other data belonging to the fallen government coming into the possession of the Taliban is that the information gained would be used to track and arrest former government officials or indeed anyone else of suspect loyalty. The Taliban's control over the country is now generally regarded as complete. Less than a week after the U.S. departure, the last stronghold of resistance, the Panjshir Valley, has been secured by the Taliban. According to the Washington Post, the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan, the anti-Taliban resistance organization that had held the valley against both Soviet and Taliban attempts to conquer it, confirmed that the Taliban was now in control of the region. France's Interior Ministry disclosed Friday that its visa platform, France Visas, has sustained a cyber attack that exposed personal information of visa applicants. The ministry said it quickly contained the attack, and the information compromised was neither sensitive, as defined under GDPR, nor financial, and that it would have been insufficient for the attackers to fraudulently obtain government services. Modified apps, legitimate applications criminals have copied and modified to deliver adware, spyware, and other malicious payloads, are, according to security firm Prodeo, continuing to circulate. The problem isn't entirely new, but it's growing in prominence as some large, trusted apps are copied and modified. Prodeo draws particular attention to bogus Netflix apps that are afflicting the unwary. Users should apply the usual skeptical cautions before installing an app. If the offer arrived by smishing, it's no good. If the offer looks too good to be true, you can bet it is, and so on. But they have some advice for app developers. Obfuscate and encrypt your code to discourage hackers. Enhance your app with tamper detection features that will react appropriately at runtime to a code integrity violation. Your users will thank you. Privacy-friendly end-to-end encrypted email service ProtonMail has acceded to a legally binding order from the Swiss Federal Department of Justice, originating with Europol, that required it to turn over the IP address and certain device information used by a group called Youth for Climate, characterized as anti-gentrification activists, to access their ProtonMail account. The information surrendered led to the arrest of some members of the group in France, according to Hacker News. Various observers aren't happy about the company's action, which they regard as betrayal of the service's brand essence. ProtonMail, based in Switzerland, isn't happy about it either, but explains that they had no choice. Founder and CEO Andy Yen tweeted, quote, "Proton must comply with Swiss law. As soon as a crime is committed, privacy protections can be suspended, and we are required by Swiss law to answer requests from Swiss authorities." He added, "Some thoughts on the French climate activist incident. It's deplorable that legal tools for serious crimes are being used in this way, but by law, ProtonMail must comply with Swiss criminal investigations. This is obviously not done by default, but only if legally enforced." End quote. "It's unfortunate that Youth for Climate technically broke Swiss law," he said, noting that ProtonMail's people are also activists at heart and that the company routinely fights such requests. But this time, he says, their hands were tied. Influenced by adverse reaction from privacy hawks, Apple has decided to suspend its plans to incorporate screens for child sexual abuse material, CSAM, in iCloud. The company told TechCrunch on Friday, quote, "Last month we announced plans for features intended to help protect children from predators who use communication tools to recruit and exploit them, and limit the spread of child sexual abuse material. Based on feedback from customers, advocacy groups, researchers, and others, we have decided to take additional time over the coming months to collect input and make improvements before releasing these critically important child safety features." End quote. So, Cupertino will take another run at the problem later, after discussion with those who've objected to the approach they announced in August. Apple has regarded the criticism as arising from a failure to communicate, and that it could have been clearer about what it regarded as an important safety feature that posed no real threat to privacy. But critics have seen at the very least a slippery slope of best practices, riding the toboggan toward full-fledged intrusive surveillance. A man suspected of writing code for the criminal enterprise that runs TrickBot has been arrested by authorities in Seoul on a U.S. warrant, the Record reports. The alleged criminal coder, referred to so far only as Mr. A, had been unable to leave the Republic of Korea for the past year and a half, stranded by COVID-19 travel restrictions. Mr. A is expected to contest extradition on the grounds that American justice would impose a disproportionate penalty on him should he be convicted. This is the second alleged TrickBot coder to be taken into custody, the first being Ala Witt, a Latvian national arraigned in a U.S. federal district court on June 4th. And now, a word from our sponsor, Recorded Future. Recorded Future will be hosting their incredibly valuable intelligence summit, Predict, on October 12th and 13th, 2021. During this virtual event, speakers and sessions will explore how intelligence empowers defenders with the visibility to make faster, smarter, more confident decisions. Join us as we feature thought-provoking keynote speakers such as Sir Alex Younger and Frank Abagnale. And this year, there will be more than 40 breakout sessions that can be counted as CPE credit opportunities. We hope to see you there. Visit recordedfuture.com/predict to register. Again, that's recordedfuture.com/predict to register for Predict 2021. And we thank Recorded Future for sponsoring our show. For quite a while now, the accepted best practice on ransomware was to not pay the ransom unless there was no other option available. Payment as a last resort, if you will. Lately, it seems, all parties advise a more practical approach. Our UK correspondent Carole Theriault addresses the ongoing dilemma of ransomware payment.
So when you think about ransomware, if you put yourself in the situation where your data is locked or stolen and being threatened to be revealed or sold, what do? Do you pay the bad guys or do you not pay the bad guys? And, it seems very easy to answer, but actually it's not. On the one side, the moral approach seems to be, of course, do not pay the ransom guys. To my mind, every single action film that involved a kidnapping was a success if the hero got away without rewarding the bad guys for their bad behavior. Good guys don't give bad guys stuff. But what if you're responsible for the welfare of people? Perhaps you're a health center, government services, authorities. What if you get hit by ransomware and you can't actually get ambulances out to people, or people that are on benefits can't actually claim their checks? What happens then? According to TechTarget, of the 10 biggest ransomwares of 2021 so far, 2 of them were on public services. One was Buffalo Public Schools, where the private info of 34,000 students was at risk, and the entire school system was shut down for more than a week, which meant no in-class or remote learning for the kids. The other biggie was Ireland's Health Service Executive, HSC, which in May got hit by a massive ransomware attack. Getting operations back to normal has been no easy task. It wasn't until 2 months later that online registration for medical cards was restored. And additionally, healthcare centers were asking patients to bring in paper documents since computer records were inaccessible. And it seems like the market's kind of in flux because on one side you have insurance, cybersecurity insurance, which would have policies to cover you in case of a ransomware attack. On the other hand, you have governments considering banning companies from legally paying ransoms. Even at the highest levels, we don't agree. And this obviously benefits the hackers. According to a BBC article published earlier this year, hackers responsible for the Colonial Pipeline hack, DarkSide, made at least $90 million in ransom payments based on their Bitcoin records. And that's a lot of wonga. I mean, in short, right now, it is super messy, and the best thing to do is not get hit by ransomware. I know, easier said than done. But by putting in place all the things that you need to lower your risk to a ransomware attack, I say the better. This was Carole Theriault for the CyberWire.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Verizon. Mitigate the risks and realize the benefits of digital transformation with the help of Verizon, a leader in cybersecurity managed and professional services for nearly 2 decades. From secure cloud computing solutions to advanced detection and response capabilities, Verizon helps secure data, networks, and infrastructure of many of the world's best-known organizations. Their annual Data Breach Investigations report is considered the gold standard of cybercrime research. And Verizon's leadership in network, wireless, and IoT connectivity makes it uniquely capable of protecting the ever-expanding attack surface. Let Verizon help you optimize your defenses and achieve the maximum return on your security investments. Learn more at verizonenterprise.com/products/security. And joining me once again is Joe Carrigan. He's from the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute and also my co-host over on the Hacking Humans podcast. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
Interesting publication here from the folks over at Inky, and it's titled Fresh Fish, Fake Mandatory COVID-19 Vaccine Form.
Right.
Kind of stuff we cover over on Hacking Humans, and I thought it's an interesting story to share here with our CyberWire listeners. What's going on here, Joe?
So I don't know about here at the CyberWire, you're a small business, but at Hopkins, I had to provide information that demonstrated that I had been vaccinated, right? A large employer, and a lot of employers are going to require this information from their employees as well.
Right.
Well, these bad guys know that. So they are using that as a lure for a phishing email. And this email comes in, these emails are coming in from compromised external accounts. They're not coming from internal accounts. But because they're coming from the external accounts, they are getting through standard email authentication like DMARC.
Oh.
Right? So they go right through. And here's a sample of the email. Good morning, all. We are learning of a new strict requirement from the county with regards to COVID vaccinations. All employees are required to complete the COVID vaccination form and return to HR as soon as possible. this is a mandatory requirement, and it goes on and on and on. But here's the hook. It says it is mandatory that you complete this form by the end of today. And one of the things we always say over on Hacking Humans and in social engineering circles is that one of the biggest red flags you should look for is an artificial timeline, time constraint.
Right, call to action.
Call to action. This is a call to action and a very short artificial time constraint.
Yeah.
All right. So once you click on the link, you go to a credential harvesting site that tries to harvest your Microsoft 365 credentials through an Outlook page that's really convincing. A very good site.
Yeah.
In terms of how well it's done. It's an absolutely evil site, but it's looks really, really authentic.
Right.
Once you do that, to add insult to injury, it asks the victim to enter some more personal information, like your birthday and your mailing address. Right? So not only is it credential harvesting, but they're also getting some personal identifiable information.
Right.
So maybe they can start building records they can sell to other people on the web for identity theft.
Yeah.
Once you complete that portion, you're actually sent to a Santa Clara County government website that has a PDF about submitting a form that demonstrates you've been vaccinated.
So a legit form.
A legit form, yeah.
That's the final step.
That's the final step. And that is to confuse the person and hopefully distract them from what they just did and not realize that they entered their information improperly.
Wow. Are there any tells here? Anything giving this away that folks can look out for?
Number one, it's coming from an email that's not internal.
Yeah.
So it's not coming from your HR department. Number two, when you click on the link, you're taken to a login site, which really shouldn't happen. Right? You shouldn't be asked to log in. You're looking at your email already, even if you're looking at a web interface of your email, like the Outlook web client.
Yeah.
You're already logged into that. So when you click on a link and you're asked to log in again, that should be a red flag.
Right.
But it isn't. A lot of times it's somebody going, well, the system just glitched. I'll just enter my credentials again.
Sure. Yeah.
A couple of things you can do as an enterprise to protect this: multi-factor authentication, and multi-factor authentication. Right? Right. And you as a person, if you have a personal account, multi-factor authentication, always enable that. It makes this exponentially more difficult for these bad guys. If you don't have that enabled, then it makes it very easy for them.
Also strikes me that if you have a password manager,
right,
it's going to point out that, hey, this isn't actually Office.
Right.
You're asking me to fill these credentials in.
Yeah, it won't even do it. If it's a web, if it's a browser integrated password manager, it won't even enter the credentials.
Right.
That's right.
Right. All right. Well, interesting example of this. Certainly playing off some of the topical stuff in the news here.
Yeah, they're always reading the paper, Dave.
It's worth checking out. Again, this is from the folks over at Inky and Joe Carrigan. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Dave.
Thanks to all of our sponsors for making the CyberWire possible. If your company would like to reach 250,000 unique listeners every month, send us a note at thecyberwire.com/sponsor. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. The CyberWire podcast is proudly produced in Maryland out of the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. Our amazing CyberWire team is Elliot Peltzman, Trey Hester, Puru Prakash, Justin Sabi, Tim Nodar, Joe Carrigan, Carole Theriault, Ben Yellen, Nick Valecki, Gina Johnson, Bennett Moe, Chris Russell, John Petrick, Jennifer Iben, Rick Howard, Peter Kilpie, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. It's time to take a moment to tell you about our sponsor, Tanium. Today, no industry is exempt from the growing threat of ransomware. Ransom attacks against critical infrastructure, private companies, and municipalities are alarmingly more frequent and pervasive in 2021. IT and security leaders must act. Understanding network assets and their status is the first step to reducing an organization's attack surface. improving cyber resilience and accelerating incident response. Check your environment today with Tanium's free cyber hygiene assessment. Visit tanium.com/cyber-hygiene-assessment. And we thank Tanium for sponsoring our show.